This week, we're dropping deep on both sides of the state and reeling in all sorts of species from tilefish and snowy grouper to barrelfish, queen snapper, and swordfish. The bite is on.
And whether you're fishing ledges or hard bottom, we've got the tactics to put you on the bite hundreds of feet down into the abyss. On the Florida Insider Fisher Report this week, which starts right now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Thanks for joining us on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. This week, we're getting everyone in on the deep drop program around the state with some stellar reports.
You're absolutely right. You know, Bree, back in the day, many years ago, before the invention of braided line, deep dropping was 175 feet if you didn't have any wind. Now, that's nothing but a chip shot, and I can't wait for our captains to talk about how deep we really are fishing these days.
I can't wait. Well, someone in who's weighing in on all of this and adding his own spin on things. Dave Farrell at the CCA Workbench. How deep you getting with us today, Dave?
1,900 feet.
Oh. Whoa!
Back in the day.
Yeah.
That's the new day.
I don't like cranking that 1,900 feet. I might use an electric reel, but you can fish that deep for sure.
Yes, you can. Back in the day, Rick. All right, before we say hello to Jim Ross in the Central East region, you guys sure had quite the day catching some memories.
So we went up there to film a Sportsman's Adventure episode in the Space Coast. You know what? And Jimmy had a plan to beat, it was unbelievable how great our fishing was. We caught a bunch of snook, and then we went out and he put us on this giant school of redfish, which was crazy. There were so many redfish, Bree, that we were catching them on a lead sinker and a circle hook. No artificial, no bait, just a straight up jigging.
Wow.
Am I right, Jimmy?
That's awesome.
Am I right, Jimmy?
Yes, you are. We call that School X, and that's kind of a super secret spot. I don't like to tell everybody about it, but you know, every once in a while, you got to go to it and check them, make sure they're still there. And I was glad I was able to take you to that, Rick.
His plan was stellar. You did a great job. But you know what? Tell us what's happening in your region this week, Bubba.
Well, I tell you what, deep dropping is getting super popular here. And Space Coast anglers are catching tilefish, various groupers, swordfish, even amberjack daily. You know, here in the Central East region, starting at around 250, you know, you mentioned 170, 175, Rick. 250 is about kind of where we get to the deep stuff. And we go all about, like Dave was saying, 1,800, 1,900 feet. And of course, electric reels are obviously used. And we're using 5 to 15 pound lead weights to get down there. Cut bait fish are preferred by most deep drop anglers. And a dolphin belly or a barracuda fillet or a jack crevalle strip, any kind of a tough bait seems to work well when you're dropping down a little deeper, and they stay on the hook really well. You know, a lot of those deep water species are currently open, but they change a lot. So keep an eye on that when you're going out. I mean, have your regulations handy because they almost change daily. But a couple of the species that just closed are snowy grouper or blue line tile. But you know, there's a ton of them that still you can bring in. Those golden edges, those golden tiles, swordfish, pomfrets, all kinds of really cool stuff. But you know, one of the lesser known as a deep drop, but can be caught all the way out into the 500-foot zones, is one of these amberjack, like Sonny Richards is showing here, of AA fishing charters out of Sebastian, and he got that fish just the other day. We've also got a bunch of dolphin that we're swinging through the region, and they're all kind of small, but it's kind of interesting that they're real shallow. Most of the guys that are out there trolling for kingfish are catching them on live baits. So people that are actually targeting them and trying to catch those dolphin are pulling R&R mahi magnets or the Islander little trackers or the little sail lures. They seem to be working really well. And you can even pull just a naked small ballyhoo or a little mullet strip. And anywhere from about 200 feet into about 70 feet, you're going to find them. But like I said, most of the fish recently have come in that 70 to 90 foot range, 70 to 90 foot range on the reefs from the guys that are doing the trolling for the kingfish in there. Now, keep a pitch rod handy because most of your dolphin are running 4 to 8 pounds, and when they come up, there's a bunch of them most of the time. There'll be 6, 8, 10 of them that pop up next to the boat. David Glasser's got a picture that he sent me here of a couple of fish, well, one of the fish that they had, but they caught a couple of them that day. And David also caught a nice hook in the cheek while they were live baiting. So got to be careful with that because those dolphins can be really dangerous sometimes.
All right,
Swinging inshore, a redfish bite. Obviously, Rick, you got a chance to see some of the redfish action. But in the flats of the Mosquito Lagoon and the Indian Rivers, a lot of those fish are running around those deeper edges and undercut banks and mangrove trees, especially in the midday and afternoon because it's gotten really hot in there. But some of the bigger fish, some of those 40 inchers are in the pre-spawn schools right now. And the bigger bulls are starting to show up. And they're going to be good now through mid-October, where you can find schools of 40-plus inch fish in any section of the lagoon deeper than about 3 feet, all the way out to the channel at being 12 or 13 feet. And, you know, you can see them thinning during the mid-morning periods when it gets really, really calm, like it's been getting the last couple of days. Got a picture here of just a typical redfish that you're going to find along one of those edges. But just decent-sized fish. The snook is my last species, and snook fishing all up and down the Space Coast has been really good. Right now, the Penn Slammer 5500 with a Carnage 3 rod, rated for about 15 to 30 pound test. You put that in that rod holder on your Skeeter bay boat, throw that Rodan overboard, and let those abysses power that thing and just hold you on spot lock on the jetties. You are going to find fish. These big fish are going to hammer a live bait, and it doesn't matter if you're fishing a live bait daytime or nighttime, they're going to crush it. And then 5 to 6 inch assassin swim baits later in the evening or at night is working pretty good as well. And most of our fish right now are running 30 to 38 inches. I've got a nice picture here of a young man I had out the other day, 7-year-old Logan, and he put this nice little fish to the boat on a live menhaden.
He sure did.
So cute.
Thank you again for hosting us this past week, Jim. It's going to be a great episode for Sportsman's Adventures in 2026 from the Space Coast. He brought us a rocket and everything. You know what, Bree? Yep.
No way.
All right, Jimmy, we're going to go and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots from the Central East region. He says inshore snook use live baits at the inlet and assassin Artemis shad along the beaches and the surf where the mullet are present. And then offshore, king mackerel are back in 60 to 90 foot reefs this week. Use live or frozen bait on a wire stinger rig to make it happen.
Make that happen. All right, we're breaking out the electric reels in the Phillips Southwest region this weekend with Captain Ronnie Houston. So let's see what that button is blessing us with. Hi, Ronnie.
Well, like always, guys, it's a pleasure representing the Phillips Southwest region. You know, deep dropping in my region, according to Captain Davis Olson, you know, they usually start in about 400 feet of water, and they work their way out, and you can get out to 1,200 feet. You know, the common denominator is going to be when you get out that far, electric reels are going to be the way to go. And honestly, Davis makes his own deep drop rigs, and what they normally use is a 100-pound fluorocarbon. They use a 4-hook rig spaced out about 1 foot apart. Now, they also use a light snap swivel with glow beads on each branch. Now, he's telling me slow pitch jigs are really effective, and he believes squid is the best cut bait. And in the shallower depths, you know, you can catch fish like yellow eyes, vermilions, and occasional Kitty Mitchell. But he's telling me in the 600 plus, that's where you're going to get your snowies, your queens, your tiles, and your yellow edges. One of the most important things you also got to realize, too, is depending upon the current, weight's going to be a key, too. And they carry an average, when they get out in those deeper depths, anywhere from about 3 to 12 pounds of weight. I got a prime example of a fish that I had mentioned in my report, caught out in those deeper areas. A couple good fish there.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what else you got, Bubba?
Still on the offshore side, the red groupers. Now, up to the north, according to Captain Bo Johnson, opportunity has been good, and he's starting in depths of about 120 feet on for the red groupers. Actually, before they get to the red snapper grounds, that's what they're doing. They're out there, they're trying to get a limit of red groupers, and then they're moving on. But while they are out there in the red grouper grounds, they're using the same cut baits like squid, herring, and sardines. Weight depending upon the current, but now we're, you know, in a little shallower, 6 to 10 ounces of weight. If you're ready for the bite, you can get away with 50-pound fluorocarbon, but he suggests using up to 80. And being on the bottom and ready for the bite is really going to be important. Now, if things are starting to slow, you just got to move around. You know, guys are moving around from spots they've had marked for years. They're finding new stuff. So if it gets slow out there, start moving around and use your bottom finder. And that's what Bo tells me has been the key. And I've got a picture of a nice red grouper that was recently caught while fishing with Captain Bo Johnson. Now, on the inshore side, we got the redfish. Now, Marco Island all the way down to the Everglades, fishing the middle bays as well as the outer Gulf Islands. But here's the key. In the middle bays, sight fishing seems to be good along the edges on the lower water. That's going to be the key to finding those fish in the middle bays due to the tannic water getting on those edges. But your mid-tides and higher tides, finding fish grouped up along the points, deadwood and oyster bars, It's going to be key on the outside. But if you're on the middle bay, sight bright colored bucktails, artificial shrimp, paddletails. On the outside with them higher tides, cut baits, live pinfish, and pilchard. On the outside, once you find one, you can be catching numbers. And I've got a picture this week of a nice redfish recently caught while fishing with Captain Derek Dappin.
Nice.
Last species is going to be the juvenile tarpon. Now, we had a slope of the rain's coming back, so the juvenile tarpon right now are throughout the region, especially in the areas of the freshwater runoff. Now, to the north, areas like the east wall and west wall to the north, Pine Island Sound and Rocky Channel to York Key. In the middle of the region, Estero Bay along the east wall, want to concentrate on those feeder creeks where that water's coming out. Now, to the south, Coon Key to the Barren River, that dump out to the middle bays is going to be key. And then all these areas, you can use the soft plastic bass assassin sea shads. I'm recommending nose hooking them with circle hooks because those juvenile tarpon are acrobatic. Berkeley jaywalkers, downsizing from the 120 to the 100s. A variety of prop baits, poppers, and flies will catch those juvenile tarpons. And there's something I want to mention, Rick, a key back to my redfish report, how I mentioned low water. That's one of the reasons I love running the SX30. I can run that boat. I've got 59 gallons of fuel. Doesn't matter how rough it gets, but I can get into that 9-10 inches of water. I can figure out where redfish, snook, and everything are and follow them to where the water gets high. But then also the versatility. They lowered Lake Okeechobee down this year to an 11. I do a lot of bass fishing out in the Everglades and up at the lake. So when they got it down to 11, 230, I'm not worried about running that lake with the lower water levels. And with that 250, 58 to 60 mile an hour boat. So versatility for me, that's why I run the SX 230.
It sounds like Skeeter's the way to go, Ronnie. And if you haven't been in one, you guys need to contact the local dealer and go check it out. Thank you so much, Bud, for a great report from the Phillips Southwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the inshore snook, he says, nighttime bite with the approaching of the full moon along the bridge spans, intercoastal docks, and seawalls throughout the entire region. Then offshore, red snappers throughout the whole region and 160 foot and beyond using cut bait, bucktails, slow pitch jigs, and even live bait is going to get her done.
Well, Rick, as you know, there's a lot to learn if you want to be successful on the bottom. And Dave Farrell at the CCA Workbench is just the guy we need to talk to for some rigs and techniques. Dave, what say you?
Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it. That's what we're going to do.
Thank goodness it's
The
you and
deep,
not
deep
just
bottom.
me. The big, deep bottom. All right, then we're on the hunt for that big, deep blue bottom in the Central West region with Captain Jeff Page. So make sure you stay with us, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. ACR. Less search, more rescue. Scientific Anglers. Failure is not an option. Penn. Let the battle begin. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Well, as you can tell, we're here at the CCA Workbench. We're going to talk about rigs and techniques, going down deep.
Very deep.
Okay.
Yeah.
How deep are we going?
Well, if you're fishing for swordfish and some of the deeper water species like wreckfish and stuff, you can actually be fishing in 1,900 to 2,000 feet of water. Right when spider wire first came out, the very first braid came out, I went on a trip to the Bahamas with Ron Shatman. He's like the guru of deep drop fishing,
right,
even back then. And we had zero current, which is perfect conditions, flat, calm seas, and we were dropping in 1,900 feet of water. And we were using crank reels too. We weren't using electric reels. Yeah, hand crank reels with 5 pounds of weight. And 1,900 feet is the Empire State Building with a football field on top of it. Wow. So that's 1,900 feet we were fishing in. And when we were using that very first braid, immediately we knew that this stuff is going to change bottom fishing forever, because you could feel every little tap, tap, tap in 1,900 feet of water. The little fish eating the bait and then the big fish coming to eat it. You could feel everything. And we all knew immediately. We set 9 world records in 3 days. We actually had more, but we kept breaking them. every time we catch a fish. And you can do that still to this day, because there's a lot of fish that have never been hand cranked to the surface that are swimming in 1,900 feet of water, even 600-700 feet of water. Sometimes you can get that one up. It breaks the all tackle world record. Doesn't have to beat it by much, and you can be a world record holder. Because that's a cool thing about deep dropping, is that you never know you're gonna get down there.
Right.
You can catch a 300-pound Warsaw grouper, a little goblin shark, with eyeballs that glow green. I mean, it's really cool because there's a million things down there. Again, you're going to have to use braided line.
Right.
Braided line for several reasons. It has a very small diameter to its weight, and there's no stretch. So if you're fishing in 1,900 feet of water and you're using monofilament, which stretches 10% or more just when it's wet,
right,
you've got 190 feet of stretch to pull out before you come tight.
Right.
And you can't really do it. You can't really do it like you can with braided line. And because it has such a small diameter, if you have any kind of current, the braided line cuts through the current where a monofilament would not. That big diameter monofilament would actually start pulling on your bait and stuff, and you don't want that to happen. It's very current specific, fishery when you're fishing really, really deep and being able to stay on the spot. Another game changer has been the rodans that you can, spot lock, and you can get on a spot and stay there right on top of it, which, before you'd have to really worry about trying to guess the drift of the current and everything. Yeah. And it's very technical. And especially when you're sword fishing and stuff, it can be very technical. Now you're going to be using a chicken rig. It's a rig with, 5-6 hooks on it. A circle hook is obviously what you're going to be wanting to use. This is a smaller hook. This would probably be one you'd want to, and with a lot more hooks, this would be one you'd want to target those tilefish with.
Right.
And when you're targeting tilefish like to lay in the mud. They like to burrow into the mud. With only their head sticking out, their whole tail and everything goes in. So you want to have this bait, this rig laying completely on the bottom. You want to put a weight on the front and on the back so that the whole rig lays completely on the bottom. And when you're fishing tilefish, that's the way to do it, because you'll get a lot more bites. They don't like the bait if it's 5 or 6 inches or even 10 inches off the bottom. Huh. They want everything smack dab on the bottom.
Dead bait fishing, like laying on the bottom,
Correct.
Not moving?
Yeah, tilefish do.
Wow.
Now swordfish, they'll eat anything just about, and he's like a giant catfish. And if you can be lucky enough to be fishing in a place where there's not a whole lot of current, you can put on just about anything to catch a swordfish.
Now tell me about where should you attach the light, Dave?
Well, your light usually goes at the very top of your leader, where your main line goes to your leader. What you don't want to do is you don't want to attach the light so that it's laying alongside the leader. If it's laying on the leader or attached to the leader in any way, what it can do is if it's laying against that leader, that monofilament leader, it will illuminate the whole leader system.
Huh.
So it kind of just makes the whole thing glow light. You have to have lights. If you notice all these,
that's a no-no.
All of them have little shrink tubes,
and it glows in the dark.
Exactly, because when you're down, past 1,000 feet, it gets pretty dark. I mean, it's not completely dark, but it gets pretty dark, and all that light attracts. Light is life.
Light is life.
Correct.
Light is life.
Light
And you know what? Those are all great tips, gentlemen, but never have I ever been so hot sword fishing where you need a hat as a one tip to stay cool. You need some snacks. Number 2. Number 3, you need some caffeine to stay awake for all those drifts. Am I right?
You're absolutely right.
All right, well, I'm gonna open this Proshex in a second.
We're gonna have that during the commercial break.
Okay, well, it might take a second to get to those deep drop numbers in the Star-Tron Central West region, but you're in for a treat once you get there with Captain Jeff Page. What are we pulling up, Page?
We're pulling up some deep drop action. It wasn't long ago, a lot of guys didn't even attempt to go out there unless they were in big, sport fishing rigs. But nowadays, with some of these catamaran boats and the quads and the triples and all the motors, guys are getting out there safe and quickly. So what used to take a long time, they're getting done really quick. And they don't like to get started at least 60 to 100 miles out. And once they get out there, the first thing they might look for in that 400 to 450 foot
area, yellow edge grouper, Kitty Mitchell grouper, scamp grouper, like Dave was talking about, that tile fish, and even a lot of red snappers out there over natural hard bottom, and the dead bait is definitely a go. And it doesn't have to be anything great. Frozen squid, frozen Spanish sardines work really good. Now, Tim says once you get out in that 500 to 650 feet, yellow-eyed snapper, queen snapper, and the vermilions have been on fire recently. And he's been running a lot of trips. And my picture tonight is of Captain Tim No of Gulf Coast Ventures with a big Warsaw. I think Dave was mentioning those.
Nice. Wow. All right, tell us about the red groupers, bub.
Red grouper, now that the American snapper has kind of been put on the back burner, I think there's going to be a mini season in like September, but that big month-and-a-half season has come to an end. Guys have switched gear to the red grouper and have been having no trouble getting their limits, 90 to 150 feet of water, live pinfish, but don't be afraid with the frozen bait if you're having a hard time. Bait's been real easy to catch right now. Sabikian and a lot of guys, Rick, use the traps like you use, and they just put them in sand holes near the inlets. On their way out, they pull their traps and put them in the live well. Standard bottom rigs have worked real well, and my photo tonight is of a young angler. I didn't get his last name, but his first name was Deacon, and that's his biggest fish he's ever caught, period, and he caught that on the Double Trouble out of Cortez, Florida. Shifting to inshore, a lot of small tarpon are showing up, Rick, and those calm mornings, you know how they act. You find that area with some silver mullet or some small hatch bait, fry bait, those little tarpons are rolling everywhere. And I found that you're able to throw lures a little bit further so you don't have to get right up on top of them. And you can usually draw up a bite with a small thick shad or the small jaywalker. I like the bone pattern this time of year. Water's clear, but sometimes can be a little tannic from the rain. Now, if you are fortunate enough to have a live well full of shiners, that works really good too. A live well full of pilchards, and they don't have to be big ones. Right now, this time of year, like Scotty Moore says, match the hatch. So the smaller pilchards will work. You can throw some out and then put one under a cork or just free line. Fish have been averaging anywhere from 8 to 25 pounds with an occasional 30 to 40 pounder. My photo tonight is of Captain Kevin Wessel of Sarasota with a nice juvenile tarpon he caught on fly. And my last species, of course, has to be the trout. With the water conditions as hot as they are, those trout have moved out deeper, 6 to 8 feet. Some of the grass flats, Long Bar on the west side of the bay near Buttonwood Harbor and the moorings. And then when you get up into by the Anna Maria fishing pier, that big grass flat out there towards Passage Key, really good speckled trout fishing right now because there's good moving water and lots of hatch bait. And if you like using a popping cork, it's great for the kids. You can put a small gulp shrimp under the popping cork, maybe 3 feet, and pop that cork. And you're going to get a trout. You're going to get a little mackerel, bluefish, a lot of stuff. My last photo tonight is of a young, happy camper with a speckled trout he caught in the Sarasota fishing camp with Captain R.C. Gilliland.
All right, bub. Thank you so much. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Central West region. Inshore, snook, fish the Venice jetties or New Pass Bridge at night with free line ladyfish or grunts for some really big snooks. And then offshore, mangrove snappers holding on the ledges and hard bottom areas and 90 feet on out. Live pilchards as well as cut pieces of fresh pilchard on a 20 to 25 pound fluorocarbon leader with a 2.0 and 3.0 light wire trocar circle hook is going to get it done.
Well, Richard, did you know that any species you catch while deep dropping can earn you a shot at winning a share of $500,000 in prizes in the CCA Florida Star competition?
Tell me.
I'm about to. This past weekend, there were 2 more anglers who caught tagged redfish, but guess what? They weren't registered or a CCA member, so all the boats are still up for grabs. 2 Carolina skiffs, Seabourn, Spider, and Microdraft skiffs, all powered by Yamaha. Here's a hint, guys. If you want to catch a tagged redfish, you should fish in Charlotte or Citrus County, as each of these counties have 8 tagged redfish. Just a hint. But you must be registered and a CCA member before you hook the fish. Get registered today. You still have until Labor Day. To enter, go to ccaflstar.com. Oh my goodness, what is
It's
happening?
amazing. It's amazing to me. Every month we have somebody or two
or three
catch a fish that's tagged and they're not registered. I don't get it, guys. I don't
If
get
you're
it.
going fishing, just do it.
Yes.
It's just, yeah. Anyways, the options are endless for the Casa Vieja Southeast region when it comes to deep dropping. And then we're saying hi to our friend from Skeeter. But first, we're getting to the bottom of the Alto Equipment East region with Captain Mike Holliday. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio, Blue Light Blocking, Radically Clear Polarized Fishing Sunglasses, Guy Harvey, every purchase helps support the health of our oceans and marine life. Penn, let the battle begin. Kubota, together we do more. And Heroes on the Water, paddle, fish, heal.
Well, as you can see, joining me is Chris Brown, the marketing director for Skeeter Boats. You know, Chris, bay boats in Florida is a giant thing, and Skeeter has been building boats for over 75 years. But let's talk about our saltwater boats that we have, like my 241.
Yeah, 241, a newer boat for us a couple of years ago, built around that Yamaha 350 power plant. And just, you know, from the tournament guys to the guides to just, you know, the hardcore fishermen, I mean, it's really a boat that does it all.
It absolutely is. And what I love about it is how well the boat is balanced.
Right.
Partially, we have a 75-gallon gas tank.
Mm-hmm.
What else is a great feature about it?
Well, you know, we lowered the gunnel height in the boat. We brought the deck up a little bit. You've got plenty of storage in this boat. And like you said, the way it floats, the way you can get up shallow with it, or if you need to run out a little ways, you know, you're going to have that rough water ride as you can be able to take care of all that. It's just an easy boat to maneuver, easy boat to fish out of and fish around.
So a guy that's thinking about buying a new boat, he can carry 4 people, 4
Right.
clients.
Mm-hmm.
And what about the recreational guy? How can he support that family?
Well, he got a lot of room in that as well. You know, you've got plenty of seating. You got the jump seat in the back, and a lot of things there. And so, a lot of ways that this boat works. You know, in much different directions.
Now I know in my 241 we have 3 live wells. We have 1 in front of the console. Let's talk a little about the 22 that we're sitting on here.
Yeah, so the 221 we came out with in 2025 this year, and this was a boat that it's basically the baby brother of the 241, right? 241's a 24-foot boat. This is a 21-foot 6-inch boat, ready for a 200. This is a boat that if you don't want a bigger boat, you want to get something in your garage or in a smaller shop, this is the boat to do it in.
Now I know that Skeeter, most of the standard options for you guys the competition, those are add-ons, so
Absolutely.
that's cost money. The one thing I love about is the simplicity of the Skeeter brands.
Right. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about warranty, boat, motor, trailer package, which you guys provide.
Sure, you got the lifetime transfer warranty on the hull. You got a 3-year component warranty on the boat as well, and everything inside of it. And of course, you got that awesome Yamaha warranty that you can also buy up to, I think, 5 years or more, you know, through your dealer.
All right, so if this guy's watching, he wants to know about Bass Boat or potentially all of our saltwater boats, where does he go?
SkeeterBoats.com. You got a dealer locator there. You type in your zip code, it'll pop up your closest dealer, and get you fixed up.
So, you know, we got one little thing to talk about. You know, today we were able to spend the day in the 241.
Yeah.
And guess what? I think my man here caught his first snook amongst many. This was his personal best, a 16-pounder.
Yeah.
Right, first bite of the morning.
Wow.
But guess what? We ended the day. Had you ever caught a tarpon before?
I had not. And you kept telling me it was going to happen. And so we're running back, and all of a sudden, like one last little stop. So amongst the mosquitoes, we found the tarpon. So
Absolutely. You know what? Thank you so much. We had a great day today.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank you.
appreciate the time because I know how busy you are. But you know what, Bree? We're busy making a fishing report here, so we got to go to another region, don't you say?
I think so, and congrats, Chris. That's an awesome day on the water. All right, the Casa Vieja Lodge Southeast region has bottom species galore, so let's find out what could be on board this weekend with Captain Jimbo Thomas. What's up, Jimbo?
Hey, Bree, Rick, and Dave, and congrats on that 16-pound snook. So deep dropping is basically bottom fishing at great depths, most of the time using an electric reel, and it's typically, it's more popular today than it ever has been. Pretty much every boat you see has 1 or 2 electric reels hanging off the back of it. Now, deep drop depths range from 500 feet on out and you want to use braided line because that'll cut through the water better to help you hold bottom and the great depths that you want to fish on the deep drop rods. Now, in the southeast region, there's a number of excellent eating species that we fish for. Golden and blue tile fish, they also call those gray tile fish. Snowy groupers, yellow edge groupers, yellow eye and queen snappers, black belly rosefish, and swordfish and barrelfish. Those are all popular deep drop species. Now, deep drop rig, which is basically a heavy-duty chicken rig, is the basic rig for most deep dropping except for swords. Now, the amount of weight is determined on the current and the depths, and anywhere from 3 to 15 pounds, and you want to use some lights attached above the rig, especially in the deeper waters. Favorite baits are squid, bonita strips, and chunks of barracuda, but first you have to find those fish, and whether you're going to a known spot or searching for a new spot, a good bottom machine and GPS plotter are a must. Now, most of the deep drop spots are natural ledges, rigs, and humps versus wrecks. So knowing where to drop your bait and setting up your drift are crucial if you want to be successful. And just like with every other type of fishing, some days those deep drop fish bite, some days they don't. Got a photo here. This is 7-year-old Caleb Cabrera with a couple of nice queen snappers that he and his dad caught deep dropping. I think they were in Bimini when they caught those. But nice fish, good eating as well.
That's right.
Now, offshore, we've been finding dolphin, and in the past week, there's been some decent catches, and then there's been a few days where you had to work really hard for a few fish. The fish have been holding on weed lines, patches of sargassum, and just about anything floating. Now, most of the fish are being found from 500 feet of water on out, 1,200 foot or deeper even, and there have been birds working over a lot of the fish, pointing them out for us. Now, the fish are being caught on the troll with ballyhoo and small lures and feathers, and that's especially on days when the seaweed's not too bad. And once we locate the fish, we've been casting small live baits and cut bait to them on 20-pound pin spinners. If you don't have any live baits and you come upon a big patch of seaweed, drop a sabiki down. There's been a lot of small blue runners underneath, so you can catch some live bait to cast to them. Now, the fish, most of them have been schoolies, with a few larger ones mixed in, but mostly schoolies. Got another photo here. This is a 26-pound dolphin that was caught off Palm Beach by the Allen family about a week and a half ago. It's one of the biggest ones that I've heard of caught in the last week or two. Now, moving inshore, catch and release snook fishing in the inlets is still one of our best bets. The snook are schooled up in all of the inlets of the region, and they're being caught on live baits, mostly filters, herrings, pinfish, croakers, mullet. You want to get them near the bottom with Jupiter rigs, a good rig to get them down deep. A lot of the fish have been big. Not that there's a slot right now, but up over slot, 20-pound plus. So you want to use at least 50-pound fluorocarbon leader and 5.0 to 6.0 circle hooks. And if there's no live bait available, try working flare hawk jigs or 4-inch gulp or bass assassin jerk baits along the bottom or along the rocks of the jetties in that inlet. And both the incoming and outgoing tides have been good early in the mornings or late in the afternoons into the evenings. Now, we've also got some good bonefish and permit in the flats of Biscayne Bay. Any of the outside flats from Soldier's Key south to Angelfish Creek have been good, especially on the incoming tide. And we've had some pretty extreme tides lately, so we got a lot of moving water, especially on the incoming. The small blue crab is what the permit and bones have been feeding on best. Crab pattern flies have also been working along with live shrimp. You want to get out there early in the morning before those flats get too hot and catch your bonefish and permit.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the ACR hotspots from the southeast region. Jimbo says inshore, fish live crabs for permit and bonefish on the outside flats of Biscayne Bay. And then offshore, troll rig baits and small lures, or cast live and cut baits to dolphin offshore around the weed patches, floating debris, and under the birds.
That is correct, but you know what? If you're in need of some dinner in the Also Equipment East region, Captain Mike Holliday is helping us with our grocery shopping list. How you doing, Holliday?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? Listen, deep dropping really should be called grocery shopping because you're targeting fish that are amazing table fare, and everyone is planning on inviting that fish to dinner. The most targeted deep drop fish in our region are tilefish species, the golden and blue line, which Jimbo almost wrote the same report as me. They're also called gray tilefish. You can also catch, rosefish, barrelfish, escolar. Don't forget, swordfish or deep drop species as well. The majority of deep drop anglers in my region focus on that 550 to 750 foot depths. Seems like a lot of the tilefish are in that 700 to 750 foot depth in the mud. You're really looking for that mud bottom when you're targeting that fish. But you can also deep drop on some of the atolls in our area, like Push Button Hill, and on the deeper wrecks, looking for like the snowy grouper and the wreck fish that are out there. And the standard deep drop rig has 3 9/0 circle hooks on dropper loops, and anywhere from 20 ounces to 10 or 15 pounds of weight, depending on the current. And for bait, bonita strips and squid are the top baits because of their durability, but anything from pilchards to barracuda bellies will work. Average tilefish is going to be like 5 to 10 pounds. So let's talk about the other blue water action we got going. Along with the resurgence in the sailfish bite right now, we're seeing a big push of blackfin tuna into the region. A lot of the fish are on the small side, under 20 pounds, but there's also some really nice fish in the mix, particularly off Mar-a-Lago, Hope Sound, and the St. Lucie Power Plant. A lot of the fish on Push Button Hill are dinks right now, under 2 pounds, but the fish inside that area on the St. Lucie humps are the ones you're looking for, that 20 to 30 pound class fish. You can pull a red, pink, or silver feather if you want to just cover water, but the majority of boats targeting tuna are either slow trolling, drifting, or putting out kites with live sardines, red fins, or pilchard. And one thing, you want to make sure you put your baits out a long way from the boat, because blackfin tuna tend to be boat shy, and the average blackfin in my region is going to be like 5 to 20 pounds right now. I have a photo from Harold Walsh. He sent me this shot of a nice blackfin tuna. They caught that fish in 130 feet of water off Stewart, and that fish ate a live sardine.
Holiday, we were just up the road from you this past weekend fishing with Jimmy. How's the inshore report in your region?
Man, August is when the biggest snook of the year move into all the inlets in the Alta Equipment East region. As we build towards Saturday's full moon, we're going to really see a lot of new fish moving in and out of the inlets almost every day. Don't overlook the beaches north and south of the inlets and places like Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge and the Vero Cove. And then at the same time, the nighttime snook bite on all the bridges, as well as on the lighted docks. That's a great way to beat the heat and get into some amazing summertime snook action. There's a lot of tanks on the bridges right now. And target the inlet and bridge fish in low light with saltwater assassin, gray ghost, or Houdini colored sea shads, or the Artemis shad as well. Sometimes it's good to go a little bigger with the Artemis shad. And then when the sun comes up, move to a live croak or a sand perch, a threadfin, or a sardine. And the average snook is going to be 10 to 20 pounds. And I got a cool photo. It's 11-year-old Blake Lofton with a nice snook. He got in his ultralight outfit, fishing with his dad, Matt. That fish ate a live pilchard. He caught that on 10-pound line, man. That's cool.
I like his hat. Got that sportsman's hat going. All right,
There you
man.
go.
Tell me about the tarpon.
Yeah, so the August tarpon bite focuses on the resident fish. That means everything from river fish in the Loxahatchee River by the Boy Scout camp and the St. Lucie River by Club Med to the fish that are up in Big Mud and Harbor Branch Canal and the Indian River. All the inlets hold fish this time of the year, but the best action is going to take place on the minnow schools that are out on the beach if you can locate them. They're moving around pretty regularly. The fish in the rivers like mullet and crabs, those are always going to be your hot bait in the inlets, mullet and threadfins. And then on the minnow schools, it's everything from bait fish flies to a live mullet to a white saltwater assassin split tail shad. The best bites are early and late in the day and after dark. Average tarpon anywhere from 30 to 80 pounds. And Captain Chris Britton of Port St. Lucie, he sent me this photo of an angler with a nice tarpon they got in the St. Lucie Inlet on a live mullet.
All right, we got to talk about bass like we do every week. What you got?
Well, the water has come up a foot or so in the last month on the Kissimmee Toho chain. But even still, with the higher water, the water temperatures are in the 90s right now. I mean, it's really, really hot. I was talking to Captain Steve Nymiller of bassonline.com. He said the big key right now is to find some deeper water with shell beds. Ideally, shell beds that have some Kissimmee grass or eel grass bordering them. Neither of those lakes are super deep, so, when I say deeper water, I'm talking 5 or 6 feet deep. Once you find that, work the edges of the grass, trying to get the bass to come out of the cover to feed. You can throw a Texas rig or wacky rig Bass Assassin June bug, colored RSB worm or a tap out worm. You don't have to add any weight because it's so shallow. Just work the worm slow on the edges of the grass and the fish will come out of the cover and blast them. And then with a full moon this Saturday, another good option is to look for the hard bottom areas with a brimmer bedding. They'll be up a little shallower. Work those areas with a topwater plug or like a bluegill flash colored elite shiner, maybe something with a little chartreuse in it. Live shiners are also working over the shell beds. And then lastly, there's been a nice topwater bite on Kissimmee in the evenings after it rains. On the days that it rains, they got a great bite. Average bass now is 1 to 3 pounds, fish to 6 pounds. So Kissimmee Toho is doing really well right now.
All right, thank you so much, Mike. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots. We'll see you next week, bud. Mike says that inshore, the mangrove snappers in the rocks off of the North Jetty in Fort Pierce fish the live sand perch, pilchards, or shrimp during the slack tide. And then offshore, guess what? Sailfish, 80 to 100 feet of water between St. Lucie Inlet and Jensen Beach. The live threadfin, sardines, pilchards, or goggle eyes is going to really work best.
All right, well, our friends over at Bahio are partnering with Field & Stream to give you a shot to win shades and more. Whether you're fishing freshwater, river, and lakes, the Atlantic Ocean, Gulf, or Mosquito Lagoon, catch one of 12 select fish, and you could win big. Simply register online or use the QR code on your screen, catch a fish, and submit a photo that includes the measurement and a piece of paper with Bahio and Field & Stream written on it. This tournament is free to enter, and you could submit fish from all 50 states. The biggest fish in each category will be crowned at the end of the summer. This is the Bahio Summer Sprint. Catch fish, win big, always free to enter, never easy to win. Did I get all the details? All right, we're taking a break from grocery shopping and heading to the CCA workbench for some Taco Marine new product shopping with Dave Farrell. What do you, we're reeling us in. He's reeling us in.
What? Dave.
Just
You did
that
it.
easy.
Wow, I was worried we were going to
Just
go
that
through the
easy.
end.
Simply that easy. And then we'll resume the Deep Drop Foodie Fiesta in the Northeast region with Captain Tommy Derringer. Don't push that button yet,
Heavyweight.
Dave. Heavyweight.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Abyss Battery, power your pursuit. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, best lures, period. And Black Oak LED, never be left in the dark.
Well, it's time to troll the edge with Taco Marine's
Yes,
new
sir.
products here at the CCA workbench. You know, Dave, the Fathom 80.
Yes, electric reel. You were talking a lot about deep dropping. This is the thing that you really want for it. And it's built on the Fathom 2 frame, you know, the original one, and it's just got that fully integrated replaceable lithium-ion battery pack, which at the back there, which means that you don't have to be tied to a plug or have cords everywhere. That just takes the place of having a cord that you have to plug in. And it's a true digital line counter that's based on diameter of the line that you put on there.
Right.
It's got an auto stop feature as well, so you can just start that thing coming to the top and just leave it, and it'll stop when it gets within a certain distance that you set. It's got a powerful brushless motor inside there that easily handles as much drag as you want.
Right.
Up to 45 pounds actually of drag, which is more than you'll ever use. Kites, it's good for a kite reel. All these chicken rigs that we're talking about. It's got that variable speed control knob at the top there,
right?
So you can go faster or slower as much as you want. It's got a sealed battery and motor, so you don't have to worry about it getting wet. And it comes with
3 different sizes.
And it comes with a nice battery charger and a battery as well.
So we get a 30, 50, or an 80. Well, let's talk a little bit about the rod that you can purchase.
This is actually a brand new rod, an electric rod they call it. It's new for September. You won't even actually find it on their website or anything right now. But it's built for power and durability. It's got unmatched performance, with 3, 5, or up to 8 pounds of weight. high performance composite blank, very, very strong. I mean, you can do pull-ups on that thing. It's made for, pulling up big, heavy fish from deep. Premium components on there. It's got the seagull roller tips and the swivel tip. You can get a swivel tip on there. It comes with a lot of different little tips if you don't want that one. That one comes with the roller guide, but it also has a swivel tip on there as well if you want to use it for pulling dredges or whatever. Deep drop models come equipped with the aluminum bent butt handle like that, to handle the torque of that electric reel.
Right.
The lighter versions come with a straight butt, for the kite fishing and whatnot. And again, just a really great combination. If you want to go deep dropping, if you buy that electric reel and that electric rod, you're going to be all set to go.
Where do we go to see both the rod and the electric reel?
You can see the reel at penfishing.com. You won't be able to see the rod yet. It doesn't come out until September.
Okay.
So
thank you for straightening us out on
real
that.
early on that. Next, we're going to start here with the Bass Assassin 5-inch saltwater shad. This is a brand new color, the Flamingo Flash. Really bright pink with some glitter inside there. I know that you like this color a lot. 8 to a pack. These 5-inch shad have a great bait fish profile already. It really doesn't matter what color they are, but
I believe that this for sure has the best action of any fluke style bait that is in the market.
Well, that straight little tail, it allows it to dart and glide off in a direction. And even when it's just sitting there, that little tail is jiggling or jubilating because, it's all, really thin plastic back there.
And and the way that they've made this part, gives it the great ability to fish it weedless as well. Bo.
Correct. Nice big belly slash there. So convenient belly slot. They call it.
Where do we go to buy this?
BassAssassin.com.
All right.
Find that.
Now,
next we've got the Casey Scott Apparel. He's a local Florida artist from Lake Park, Florida. He's got 3 different shirts here. This one is the Quiver Polo. He pretty much all of his clothing, he wants them to be really soft and really breathable and have a decent SPF. And all of his stuff has that. That's pretty much really, lightweight, 4-way stretch. That's his raison d'entrée. Anyway, 67% polyester, 26% cotton on that shirt. That's why it's so light
the pink one.
and breathable. Yep. That is the Tide camo hoodie.
This could be Ricky Dicky.
Yeah, is that the?
It's a large, not an extra large.
Okay, exactly. That one's for you then. 90% polyester, 10% spandex, and it's a 50 plus SPF on there. And it's got a hood, really nice.
All right, what about the button up for a little dressy situation?
Yeah, if you got your button down there, the Atlantic Traveler Islander button down shirt. 71% poly, 21%. It's very
medium,
nice.
Baby. That's M. You know what that M
nice.
means? That means it's for Murphy.
Exactly. Go to kscottart.com to get you some of these really cool skate cotton.
Coming in hot,
So
Casey.
excited. Rick, I have a question.
Yes.
How often do you use an electric reel when you're deep dropping?
Never.
Never.
I'm a hand crank kind of man.
That's really weird because you love to push buttons.
I do.
I think we should just switch to an electric reel for you. All right, summer is the perfect time for some Yamaha Repower finance offers. From now until September 30th, 2025, purchase a new eligible Yamaha outboard to get rates as low as 6.99% APR for 72 months when financed through Yamaha. For purchases made on the Yamaha credit card, get interest rates as low as 2.99% APR for 36 months, then 15.99% to 23.99% APR thereafter. Visit YamahaOutboards.com for complete details. In the Northeast region, we're redefining deep with Captain Tommy Derringer. We're still eating good though, right, Tommy?
That's right. We're not pushing many buttons like Rick does, I guess, over there.
No.
That's pretty funny.
He's pushing some though.
Yeah. We don't have a whole lot of guys deep dropping here. I know it does happen. I did some research. Couldn't really get in touch with many guys doing it. So you know what I'm going to talk about? Mangrove snapper, because that is going on. We've got a great bite happening, from about June through August, even through September, especially around the new and the full moons, which we have a full moon this weekend. We generally have a pretty epic mangrove snapper bite happening throughout the region. And these are some big old mangoes too. Some of our offshore captains, they chase world record mangrove snappers in these summer months. And if you're looking to do something like that, now would probably be a good time to book a trip with one of those guys. I spoke to a couple of our snapper experts this week. They tell me that the mangrove and the mutton snappers as well, they've been chewing big time this week. They've been catching big numbers of mangoes in that 120 to 140 foot range, east of St. Augustine, especially the couple of guys I talked to. Most of the fish are coming from a flat line. They're just chumming those fish towards the surface, chunk sardines, or really any kind of chunk bait. There's also some of those mutton snappers there, and of course, tons and tons of red snappers in the same areas. Now, the mutton snappers, they don't come up as often as the mangoes do. They don't come all the way up to the surface a lot of times, but put a few baits down in the column, and you've probably got a good bet of getting one. Those mangrove snapper, they're running like 8 to 10 pounds on average, which is pretty big. And I've seen some huge muttons coming in the past couple of weeks as well. And I've got a picture here. Captain Jason Hadges from the J-Hook, he sent me this picture of his happy client with a nice mango they recently caught out of St. Augustine.
Nice.
Dang.
Now, also offshore, guys, we're still in the heart of our kingfish season. There's all kinds of kingfish stuff happening in the Northeast region, although the kingfish bite has been a little hit or miss. There's been a lot of unhappy kingfish anglers out there, but it's still a go-to for most of our offshore and nearshore anglers. The beach fishing been a little tough, but it seems to have picked up this week a little bit with the full moon coming up on Saturday. Last weekend, the King of the Beach tournament was held, and although there wasn't a ton of fish caught, there was some big ones weighed in. William Duncan and his team can't get right. They won it with a 46-pounder, which is a big old fish. And speaking of that 46-pounder, I've got a picture here. This is William and his crew with their winning fish.
Wow.
He said it was their only bite of the day. He said it got wild. There was lightning popping all around them as they were landing that fish. But
man.
Congratulations, William, on landing it and making it back to take the win.
Cool. All right, let's
I'm
go
moving
inshore.
inshore, guys. Yeah, man, the flounder bite. It's been consistent all summer long. Seems like there's some bigger fish showing up, though, here over the last couple of weeks. We've been catching some nice ones on my boat. Docks, rocks, any kind of structure that's close to the inlets. That's been the hot spot for the bigger flounder. Use a small to medium-sized finger mullet. You can rig it on a heavier jig head, maybe a half-ounce, quarter-ounce jig head, or a fish finder rig, depending on what the current's doing. The low tide or even the higher slack tide, that's going to be where you're going to get the most bites. That tide has been ripping here with that big moon coming up. It makes it tough to get to the bait to the bottom unless you're fishing close to those slack tides. And there's also been a good flounder bite on some of the nearshore reefs. Target the down current side of the structure out there with a finger mullet or a big old mud minnow, and you're going to find some flatties out there as well. Now, also inshore, there's been somewhat of a surprising trout bite happening here the last couple of weeks throughout the region. Typically for me, the trout bite is kind of slow this time of year with the heat, but if you get out early, and I mean like before the sun comes up early, the trout bite has been great. If you're brave or maybe even crazy enough to get out while it's still dark, dock lights have been holding good numbers of hot-sized trout. But, I've had my clients tossing the Berkeley Jaywalker 120 top water pretty much just as that sun starts peeking over the horizon, and we've been catching some sizable trout. The tide's going to be high early this weekend, so look for schools of finger mullet up along the grass lines. Toss that topwater plug right around those schools of bait. Once the sun gets up and starts to heat up, and we've been switching over to either live or cut mullet, and we've been catching some nice reds, but we've also, funny enough, been catching some nice trout on some cut mullet, which is kind of crazy, but it works. And I've got one last picture here. This is the man, my good buddy Tim O'Reilly, with a nice gator trout that he caught with me this past week in Palm Valley.
All right, man. Thank you so much, Tommy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. Tommy says that inshore, get out right at or before first light and toss the Berkeley Jaywalker topwater plug around the schools of mullet for trout and redfish. And then offshore, great mixed bag of mangrove, mutton, and vermilion snappers and 120 to 140 foot depths throughout the entire region. What do you say?
Well, I'm just circling back. How deep have you hand cranked something?
I caught a swordfish with Randy in 2200.
You hand cranked?
Hand crank.
You're so strong. Oh my goodness.
That was
As
15
we know,
years ago.
Oh, well, that makes
Not
sense.
really.
Whatever. As we know, summer's fading fast, but the savings are still blazing hot. It's the final days of the Skeeter Blazing Hot Summer Savings Sales Event, and until September 5th, you can save big with up to $5,000 in rebates on select models. Get the Skeeter boat we've been dreaming about across the popular bass, saltwater, and deep V lines. So visit your authorized Skeeter dealer today or go to skeeterboats.com ridgemarfi.com for more details. All right, well, we're setting up our next drift in the Black Oak LED Keys region and then reeling in a few sea beasts with Captain Pat Deneen in the Panhandle region. And you know what? There's always more to see beyond the show, so scan the QR code to connect with us. From bonus tips and full reports to fishing videos and merch, it's all just a click away. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, conserving Florida's fisheries since 1985. Frontrunner Boatworks, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
All right, if you're taking to the depths of a Black Oak LED Keys region, it's time to listen to a few important tips from Captain Ridge Murphy. Put us on him, Ridge.
You know, when it comes to deep dropping, the only way to do it, in my opinion, is one of two ways. Rule number one, there has to be two rods, and rule number two, it's always a competition. Here in the Black Oak LED region, deep dropping is a fun way to catch all different kinds of fish, from a variety of snappers and groupers to barrelfish and all the kinds of creatures of the deep. Some guys will hand crank on some of the shallower spots, but it's more common to go out there with electric reels and drop R&R chicken rigs or deep drop rigs with 4 to 8 pounds of lead and 400 to 1,100 feet of water. Make sure to have a variety of different color LP disco lights because it's dark down there, and different species will hold in different depths. Make sure to keep an eye on your bottom machine looking for bait and for different structures from pinnacles, hills, valleys, plateaus, and pay close attention to where you're marking the structure, that way where the fish are. This will help you reset successfully. For bait, guys will use squid, bonita strips, chunks of cudas, and you want to side drift through your spots on the bottom, keeping a close eye on the rod tip, looking for the tap-tap. Once you have the one on, that's when the game starts. Do I slack up and go down for more, or do I take the safe route and start coming up? Personally, after the fish bite, I try to come up 20 feet or so to drive the hook and then drop back down to try and get a few more. I spoke to Captain Justin Miller off the Real McCoy, out of Bud and Mary's, and Sammy Milazzo off the Vice Versa, and out of Worldwide Sportsman. And the most consistent game in town right now is the Schoolie Dolphin. In 700 to 2,000 feet of water, we talk a lot about mahis this time of year because they're a great way to get a line tight. And the nice part about the mahis is that you cover lots of ground and you can mix it up, meaning on the way out you can stop and drop for snappers on the live bottom and run way offshore and do some deep dropping or even some sword fishing before you turn around and run back inshore. Look for birds and weed lines and floating debris, and use live tilters or cigar minnows, and make sure to have the box of squid or chunks of dead bait for when the schoolies to help you save some of your live bait. I have a photo of Logan with a nice mahi that he caught after getting their limits of lobsters out of Key Largo.
All right, let's go inshore, bub. Speaking of lobsters.
Last week we had a great mini season, and this week we're going into the main lobster season, and everyone seems pretty fired up to get out there and catch some lobsters. For the divers, you can use nets and tickle sticks or snares to work the lobsters out of the holes and into your net. Make sure to have a dive flag up and work with a buddy, and also have somebody on the boat measuring with lobsters, because the FWC will write tickets for undersized lobsters. And for the guys like me that don't want to get in the water, you can still get out there and catch a limit of lobsters. Bully netting at night is where you can use underwater lights to light up the flats, and you motor around the shallows looking for the lobsters crawling across the flats, scooping them up with long-handled nets that are bent in a 90 degree. This is a fun alternative to getting into the water and still being able to bring home a lobster dinner. And I have another photo of the entire Del Santo family with some lobsters that they caught on their little Keys vacation during mini season.
Look at that.
Wow, what a good-looking
That's a pretty family right there.
Mia tickled her first lobster out of a hole and snared it. Not even kidding you.
What?
So proud of her.
All right.
Thanks, Ridge.
She's following mommy's footsteps. All right, tell me about the redfish, bub.
You know, the Florida Bay red fishing is very good right now. The fish are starting to school up in the deeper parts of the flat. Then as the tide pushes up on the flats, you can get some shots of tailing fish. On the mid-tides, look for some of the reds grouping up and rumbling around the flats. Throw Bass Assassin jerk baits, rigged weedless like the 5-inch jerk bait or the 4-inch C-shad. Any color will work, but I really like the bone and the flamingo flash. These colors are very good for sight fishing because the angler can see them, and it helps your angler make good shots and manipulate the angle to make your shots count. If you hear me say it once, you'll hear me say it 1,000 times. Pull the bait away from the fish instead of coming at the fish. In other words, predator chases prey, not prey chases predator. And I have another photo of my two buddies, Ashley and Wiley, with a nice, fun sight fish redfish out of Florida Bay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ridge. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the scientific angler hotspots from the Florida Keys. Young Ridge says, inshore, lobsters all up and down the inside reef line from 5 to 20 feet of water. Dive for them or buoy net them at night and make sure that you have a good measuring device. And then offshore, yellowtail, mangrove snapper, 60 to 90 feet of water, anchor or spot lock, chum with frozen chum and sand and oats. Guess what? Free line baits with cut ballyhoo or shrimp behind the boat to catch those snaps.
And just a little tip, all measuring devices are not created equal.
No? What do you know?
Nope, so make sure you measure your measuring device because you don't want to get in trouble with the FWC. All right, let's dive in and see what tournaments are going on in the Florida Keys. First, teams fish around the clock in Key Largo from Friday night, September 26th through Sunday afternoon, September 28th to win coveted trophies for trout, snook, and redfish in the Take Stock in Children Backcountry tournaments. Then ladies gather in Isla Mirada October 17th and learn fishing skills October 18th during the Ladies Let's Go Fishing University, followed by the Fishing Fever Tournament on October 20th. Next, the Inshore Fishing Association Backcountry Tournament comes to Isla Mirada October 18th for a one-day contest with scores tallied on the e-tournament fishing app for the largest catches of trout, redfish, and snook in team, kayak, and kid divisions. And finally, anglers compete for prizes and trophies in the annual all-release tournament targeting snook, redfish, bonefish, tarpon, and permit. The tournament hosts 2 U.S. military veterans to compete alongside other anglers each year. For more information on Keys tournaments, go to flakeys.com. All right, if you're headed into the Gulf this weekend, you are in luck because Captain Pat Deneen has mastered the art of deep dropping in the Panhandle region. Let's hear it, Pat.
Hey, Bree, I tell you what, restrictions and closures on many popular reef fish has naturally pushed the attention to deeper waters, and deep dropping is a year-round fishery in the Panhandle. But we have to watch the weather since runs are typically 40 miles further offshore. The good thing is these fish that we're running 40 miles offshore are especially good to eat, so that's a positive there. Tackle innovations are another positive. They're keeping up and helping drive this fishery. They're making lightweight but powerful full electric reels and deep water jigging setups. They're specifically designed for targeting these deep water fish. And popular deep drop targets off our coast include snowy groupers, yellow edge groupers, and a variety of other grouper species, as well as a variety of snappers. And you're going to find these fish on some hard bottom or some natural bottom, structure. The Trans-Gulf pipeline running across our region in 600 or so feet of water is a great place to look for them, but also the humps and the wrecks offshore. And then if you're looking for the tilefish, there's another targeted species in deep. They're going to be on the mud bottom, usually in 900 to 1,100 feet of water or so. I like there to be a little bit of a drift while they're tilefishing. It makes your bait cover some of that mud, featureless mud bottom, and helps you find the tilefish. Just make sure your lead is dragging bottom as you move along, otherwise you're not going to get any bites. A couple photos there of Captain Ronnie Respondek of Rooster Tail Charters in Pensacola with a nice yellow edge grouper he caught deep water fishing on the pipeline. And then there's another photo that's me with a colorful golden tilefish we caught just east of the steps. You can see where those golden tilefish get their color. That's a lit up pretty fish right there.
There is.
Rick, staying offshore, I was telling you on the phone the other night, the water offshore is a terrible green color around the elbow, the 131 holding over towards the knuckle. But the fish are in there. The crews getting out there are getting multiple shots of sailfish. Some days being lots better than other days, but still the fishing is pretty steady. In addition, white marlin and even blue marlins are in the mix, so a grand slam is not out of the question. The water's terrible color, but it's got the bait in it. You find that bait, you want to work that area hard. So, certainly you want to wander off to look around, but keep coming back to wherever you mark those baits. You're usually going to mark, 700 foot of water or so, but you're going to be marking the bait at 500 to 600, 650 feet, sometimes up higher. camp out on top of the bait, troll a spread of smaller ballyhoos, some deep daisy chain teasers, and a couple of dredges. Basically make a good presence known, and definitely have a pitch rod ready for a blue or even a horse skirted ballyhoo on a 50 as a shotgun bait. And if I'm not out on my Skeeter, that's where I like to be offshore. And I got a picture of a release sailfish that we caught Saturday fishing just west of the 131 hole. I mean, you can see in that picture how green that water is, but the fish are out there, so don't be discouraged by the watercolor.
All right.
Moving inshore, there's got a report from Captain Justin Leake over in Panama City. He tells me there's a good Spanish bite going on in St. Andrews Bay. Their bay is loaded up with pilchards, so what you want to do is cast the net, get a live well full of pilchards, anchor up on one of the major points, and make sure you have some moving water coming around that point. Then chum with live baits. Basically, anchor up on the edge of the deep water. Chum with live baits, free line hook baits on a light spinning tackle, using 40-pound fluoro for a leader and a long shank hook. There's a good grade of Spanish being caught with some 4 to 5 pounders being in the mix. And then finally, inshore, good reports of mangrove snapper coming from throughout our region in the primary bays, the bigger bays in the Panhandle. Deeper bay structure like bridge pilings or rock piles tend to have the bigger fish, with some shallower docks, especially those that have been sweetened up with some structure, can be good. Primarily, it's a live bait fishery, but cut baits can be good, especially while chumming. Small pilchard, shrimp, baby pinfish, spot minnows are all good baits to use, but be sure to use light leaders and small hooks. The biggest bay mangroves are usually not much over legal, but there are some decent ones being caught that don't need to be measured. You guys get out there and have fun.
All right, thank you so much, Pat Tar. I appreciate you very much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hotspots, the heroes on the water hotspots from the Panhandle region. He says inshore, walk the early morning Gulf breeze before the sea breeze kicks up. The chop and sight fish redfish in the surf using unweighted gulp shrimp. And then offshore, good kingfish bite off of Pensacola, slow troll live seaguar minnows along the entrance channel to the Pensacola Bay and nearby structure.
And I love that he mentioned don't be discouraged by the watercolor.
No.
It's very important because you're always looking for blue, but they still bite in green. All right, if you're cruising around Florida, do it with a cause and rock the Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate. Your $25 goes straight to supporting clean water, restoring habitats, protecting marine life, and teaching folks about our coastal environment. Get yours at your local DMV or online at redfishtag.com.
Absolutely.
Coming up, we're drifting into the Northwest region to see what Captain Jeff Hageman has for our deep drop options this weekend. But before we go, come and be a part of our live studio audience. You'll get to see what goes on behind the scenes, plus tons of giveaways. We have one more left in the season, so go to our website and sign up. It's for free, and we'll see you here on set. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Fenwick, feel everything. Phillips and Jordan, building critical infrastructure that matters. Castaway Coffee, one taste and you'll be hooked. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy, fishing for adventure. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Taco Marine, master the catch.
Today's Power Pole tip is about the new Power Pole Vision. The Vision comes in a 7-inch and 12-inch model, and it's the industry's first marine infotainment center built for your boat. Picture it as your phone reimagined for the marine environment. So we solve the issue where your phone overheats. The Vision will not do that. You can see maps and charts all day right here on your dash. You also have access to the 3 million apps on the Play Store. So charting, navigating, whatever your favorite satellite maps are, download them to the Vision and see them better than ever. It's also an entertainment device. So all of your apps like social media, I can take a photo or video with the camera right here, upload it to social media for all my friends and family to enjoy. I can take a Zoom meeting, I can do emails all right here from the Vision. I can even Venmo friends money when they beat me in a fishing tournament, or DoorDash a pizza to the ramp. To learn more about the Power Pole Vision, stay tuned to the next couple episodes, and we're gonna take a deep dive into everything that it can do. And that's your Power Pole tip.
I have beat Danny in a fishing tournament, and I don't remember him Venmoing
I was
me
gonna
anything.
say, how often do you get Venmo'd, Rick?
But I guess I better call him on this one.
Well, it's new, so you might be getting Venmo'd a little more. All right, the Northwest region is constantly showing off their deep drop prizes. So, Captain Hageman, it's your time to shine. Go for it.
We've got some great deep dropping on our coast. With today's 3 and 4 motorboats getting more and more popular, they're finding out how good it is. Captain Rab Davenport of Big Nasty Charters specializes in deep dropping, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 feet of water. Variety of species out there: big kitty Mitchells, queens, yellow-eyed snappers, blue line, golden tiles, yellow edge, and more saws. Good high-speed electric reel, 100-pound braid, 3-hook chicken rig is the standard deep dropping outfit. Anywhere from 5 to 12-aught circle hooks, depending on what you're fishing for out there. 2 to 5 pounds of lead, depending on the current you've got. You want to look for hard bottom out there with most of the species. The Goldens like a little bit of mud, so you want to get off that hard bottom and find the mud to get those golden tiles. But as far as baits go, whole squid, cut up fitter curry chunks, blue line tile, any kind of bonita strips work really good. Some of the shallower stuff, like kitty Mitchells, you can use live baits. And I've got some photos here from Captain Rob with some nice clean snapper.
Nice.
And some yellow edge grouper.
Nice. All right, what else you got?
Captain Rob also out of St. Pete reports a good black grouper bite right now. Some of the same areas are catching those gags in right now. Put a big bait down, leave it alone, don't touch it. 8 to 10 feet, 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, 12 to 16 ounces of lead, depending on the current you got. Cannot circle hook. Big baits are the key when catching those big carbos out there. And he's been catching quite a few on recent trips, and anywhere from 170 to 200 feet of water.
Nice.
Of a beautiful black grouper and a red snapper at the same time.
Nice. Those are both really big fish. Good job, guys. All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Captain Jim Pollard, a big guy sport fishing out of St. Pete, reports a good mangrove snapper bite right now. Nearshore rock piles, ledges, shallow water wrecks right now inside of Tampa Bay. Captain Jim is chumming them up with any kind of cut sardines and cut thread pins right now and drifting them back. His cut baits with an 8 to 10 foot leader, and he's using 15-pound fluorocarbon leader with a 1-aught trocar circle hook. And Jim's been targeting most of these fish on the slower moving tides right now, or on the tide changes. So any of those rock piles, you don't want that hard moving current. You're going to drift your baits past that area. So I'm going to use that tide changes right now to get those fish to fire up real good. The snook bite right now in the lower half of the region has been heating up really good right now, producing some big females and a lot of those smaller buckfish right now, anywhere from 25 to 37 inches. Been caught pretty frequently, and quite a few fish over the 40-inch mark on the tides right now. And that little bit of dirty water on the outgoing has been producing those bigger fish. And you can bump up your leader a little bit to get those fish. Anywhere from 3 to 6 feet of 30 to 40-pound fluorocarbon leader, 6 to 7-aught trocar circle hook, and a grass grunt or a pinfish, either weighted or free line, has been the bait of choice. And I got a photo here from Captain Jim with a average base snook right now.
All right, man. Thank you for the pictures this week, bub. You covered the region quite nicely. I appreciate your effort. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Discover Crystal River hotspots from the Northwest region. He says inshore, snook on the beaches and in the passes, use pennies or grunts for bait to catch those big snooks. And then offshore, mangrove snappers can be found on the high relief structures in 25 to 75 feet of water.
He didn't give me a scallop report, which is a shame because we're going scalloping tomorrow.
You're going without me?
Yeah, we're going this weekend.
Why?
Because you're probably going somewhere cooler than me anyways. But anyway, I'll give everyone the scallop report next week. How about that?
You're leaving me.
Oh, don't be so sad. You leave me all the time. It's time to grab your deep drop gear and put all of this knowledge to the test out there on the water this weekend. But make sure you stay with us so we can tell you what we're cranking in next week. We'll be right back.
All right.
Well, y'all, Next
Y'all.
week, we're talking sharks. So make sure to tune in. Rick, I know sharks are your favorite. And that is the reason why, well, one of the reasons why you do not get in the water.
I love sharks.
That certainly is one of the reasons why. But the good news is I talked to Congressman Whitman.
Yeah, I know
He's
what you're
been
gonna
on the
say.
show, and guess what? The Shark Act has passed. Rick Scott introduced it, and now it's going to be fast-tracked when they come back from session. Shouldn't be any resistance whatsoever, and then it'll go to Trump, and he'll sign it, and that'll make NOAA actually have to do a new assessment and see how bad we're out of balance.
Shark Act, depredation, all that good stuff.
Yes.
I remember that. All right, well, before you hit the water, let's dive in to Seize the Social, your best Florida fishing moments from the Gulf and the Glades and the Atlantic. Let's check it out, gentlemen. Dave, be quiet.
All right.
Okay.
Oh my, hold the camera. Holy crap. Holy.
It's a big old
giant.
bass.
Wow. Look at the belly on that thing.
Rex, that is.
I just want
It's fresh off the Thanksgiving feast.
They're freaking out.
Hold that. Oh, I gotta call Jerry right now.
Oh, Jerry!
Oh my God.
Yeah, I gotta call Jerry.
I gotta call Jerry!
Oh my God. Is that... I hung up with you. And we set the...
He says,
You know how to FaceTime?
he calls his buddy. He leaves him holding the bag, leaves him holding the fish, a teener, and he's calling his buddy.
Is that a tainer?
He says a teener.
It's
Jerry
a
had
tainer.
to know.
Jerry had to know. I hope he was FaceTiming Jerry at least.
Right?
Right?
Come on, Jerry,
Come on,
answer
man.
the damn phone.
Come on, man. It's his best fish. All right, remember, if you saw a fishing reel you'd like to share and be featured on Seize the Social, just scan the QR code or drop them in our DMs. Go deep dropping this weekend. Be safe, and we'll see y'all next week for...
Bye-bye.